Faith is often misunderstood. For many, they've used it as a band-aid to deal with personal and emotional problems. Although it is a wonderful option for many of our problems, it is not the exclusive answer to all of our problems. Join mentor, licensed therapist, and coach Sandy for an experience that will transform your life mentally, emotionally, and physically. Join us for Not Your Mama's Spirituality with therapist Sandy Durham.
Hi everyone, Sandy Durham here. Thank you so much for joining us on Not Your Mama's Spirituality. So excited that you took time out of your day. You could be doing anything on this Saturday evening or whenever you choose to watch this, but you came to join me and my special guest as we talk about what spirituality looks like in this day and age. We've learned so much since we started this production, and I guarantee you today you're gonna learn a whole lot more. So get ready as we welcome my next guest, Miss Jasmine. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. So excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Now, those of y'all been watching, we definitely get to know our lovely guests and the beautiful giftings and talents, but we also get to know who they are and, different things that resonate with them as far as life, spirituality, things of that nature. So, Miss Jasmine, who are you?
Complicated.
Oh, I love that. Just very concise.
I'm very complicated. I am a woman on a forever journey of self-discovery. I am the Vagina Liberator.
All right now.
And that means a lot.
Yes, I know a lot of people just clutch their pearls right now. Is this an anatomy show or okay, ma'am? Now, yes, so that is where you are today, and is that the name of your product? It's just a nickname for yourself. Tell me, who is this Liberator?
It's a nickname for myself. So I actually went to school. I have a master's in public health from Florida A&M University.
All right.
And I've been a sexuality educator for over 8 years.
Okay.
I fell into it. I always wanted to do something in sex education.
Right.
I just didn't know what. It's a funny story. I wanted to be a sex surrogate because I was going to school first to be a nurse.
Wow.
That's what you're pushed to do as a black girl.
Right.
Go to school to be a nurse. And then I realized I don't want to do that. That all of that is so disgusting and gross to me.
Oh, goodness. Thank you for all the nurses and the hard work, but it's
Thank
not
you.
for everybody.
It's not for everyone.
Jasmine's not a fan of it, and that's okay.
So I stumbled upon occupational therapy.
Okay.
And my professor at the time was just ranting about all the things you can do with occupational therapy. So she mentioned a sex surrogate. I was like, what is that? So people with physical disabilities, they still have a sex life, and occupational therapy are basically your ADLs, your what do you do every day.
Okay.
And sex is a part of that. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I was the only one in class who was like, that's
Very
so
excited
cool.
to
You can help people have sex. They deserve a sex life too.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I didn't get into the program.
Okay. Right.
But I still graduated with my bachelor's, and I don't know, I forgot. It was geared towards occupational therapy. I'm like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, this was supposed to be for my master's of occupational therapy.
Right.
And I became a teacher at a middle school, and at the time, one of my friends introduced me to public health. I was like, you should really look into this. I was like, what is, I never heard of public health before, but I had to do something.
Okay.
So I researched public health, and I enrolled back into FAMU, and I focused on sexual health education and policy. So that was amazing. But as a health teacher, like at first I wanted to write a curriculum of sex education because I don't remember sex education as a child.
Right, yes.
I know I did it because I had to, but I don't remember health, my health. I don't remember my health teacher's name.
Wow.
So during that time as a teacher, all of these girls looked up to me and the boys. I was very young. I was like 22, 23.
Right. They probably thought you were a student, girl.
They did.
Yes.
I used to get stopped in the hallway.
Oh, you haul past that. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. So, and during the segment of the curriculum, we talked about sexual health. they were like, no one wanted to leave class. They had all of these questions. It's like they didn't have anyone to talk to about it. They relied on each other for sexual health education. I remember as a teen, the same thing in my generation. We relied on each other to learn about sex, and we were so wrong.
Oh, goodness. The blind leading the blind, right?
Yes. Blind leading the blind. So I knew, like, that really confirmed, like, I really want to do this. Don't want to teach forever. Never saw that for myself. I did my 3 years and got out of there.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to do something big. You know, I saw myself writing a curriculum, maybe, but I wanted to do something big. So, yeah, I just stayed on track with being a sexuality educator, and I still am a sexuality educator. So I started creating a social media presence very slowly, and I love talking. Like, I really do. So I love talking to women. And over the course of my life, I'm always having conversations with the women. And when sex come up, the same thing is said. I don't think I have an orgasm. I never experienced an orgasm before. And I'm like, why not? Like, what's the problem? What is the missing link? Right. And it's so much to that. And
so I'm gonna pause you in your story because you said a whole lot, and I know folks are watching like, oh goodness, I came and signed up for education I didn't know I was getting today. But something that she said, and it's something that, you know, as a mental health provider, absolutely all aspects of your life, of your functioning, absolutely contribute to how you navigate and your understanding of it. You know, this is where Jasmine, her expertise is in educating folks on it because it's taboo. I know, and you know, I can't speak for all communities or all folks in the Black and brown community, but I know it wasn't something we sat around the dinner table talking about.
Never.
It wasn't anything that, you know, when I would, you know, go to different, you know, functions, things of that nature, I had to learn from peers and things of that nature. But there's so many different resources out here that you can tap into and get an understanding. But for you, Jasmine, I'm just so curious to know, at what point were you like, man, this is something I'm interested in? Were you know, when the little kids are like, when I want to grow up, this is what I want to be? Or was it an evolving thing? Or did you start off wanting to be something and engage in another profession, young you? Or is this something that you've always been curious about?
I don't know. I don't have a moment in my life where, you know, this became a thing. Right. But I've always curious, like, why don't we talk about this?
Okay.
Like, what's the problem? Okay. Like, I used to love the Movie Players Club growing up.
Oh,
like,
goodness, yeah.
You know, but it's like, well, why is it such a secret?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about it?
And you heard my reaction. Oh, goodness, because you're a child. And those are things that, you know, aren't geared toward children, but the education piece, I feel like, you know, with the exception of that small class, which I remember it, and it was like boys over here, girls over here, these are the reproductive organs. Yes. And then it kind of, you know, ends with anatomy and then how babies are born. Right. So, and if your babies are watching, you know, unless you've had this conversation with them, you know, you've been warned. So I hear you. Just being curious.
Being curious.
Yes.
I always thought it was unfair that boys had a freedom that girls did not have.
So what do you mean by that, a freedom?
So we always grow up with this, boys will be boys. You know, we always gave permission for boys to masturbate. Okay. Now that permission isn't, yes, son, go in the bathroom and do your thing. That's not it, but it's an unspoken thing it's unspoken freedom that we give boys. Okay. We don't talk about it.
So something that's an expectation that, they're just going to do that.
They're growing up. That's what boys do. Gotcha. But then for girls, no one teaches girls how to release their sexual tension because in puberty, both boy and girl have the same urge. Their bodies are changing. They're becoming attracted to whoever. They have urges, but no one teaches little girls how to release those urges. Wow. And even in research, boys start their sexual journey later than little girls. Boys, because they masturbate, they don't have, you know, they don't have a burning desire like girls do because we don't have a release.
Wow.
And then research goes a little further that some girls who grow up masturbating delay their first sexual encounter.
Okay.
Because they don't have to
rely on
someone
interaction.
else to help them release it.
Okay. So you just said a whole lot. Yeah. Mama, release your pearls. I know you're watching. Release your pearls. It's okay. It's okay. And if this part of, what Jasmine's saying resonates with you, like, yes, I do remember this not being talked about. And the word I'm going to use is taboo. It is. And just hearing you, I remember going back in time, being young, and the only thing that was, communicated was about, as far as young ladies, the cycle. Yeah. And that was, this is so your body can prepare to have children. But everything in between there, it was kind of like you were saying, bits and pieces. And I don't know, anybody watching, if what she's saying makes sense, you had that curiosity and weren't that part of expression, sexual expression wasn't discussed, I don't remember it and I don't recall that happening. And to be honest with you, as having a background in faith and church and things of that nature, what was really promoted was abstinence, whether it was promoted for young boys, young girls, grown, everyone. And so the hyper-focus, not even hyper-focus, just the discussion about releasing anything was not really discussed. I mean, I don't know for you, if you have a background in faith or in church or things of that nature, do you have any similar experience to that, or being encouraged to not explore sexual release or anything? Okay, yes. So you know what I'm talking about. Ooh, y'all know.
Yes,
I thought I was out here,
So, we grow up with you don't have sex. You wait until marriage.
Right.
Good girls don't do that.
Okay,
Save
so that's
yourself.
an identity thing. Okay.
Then like little girls, from the time we grow up, we're taught that we are like this little delicate flower.
Right.
Don't let too many people around you touch you, pick you, whatever. But boys aren't taught the same thing.
Right.
Their messaging is different from ours.
Mm-hmm.
And I can contribute to some of it being fear of the male sexuality. So when you see your son with a girl, you're excited, oh, my son won't be gay. Okay. You encourage and push like, oh, you're not having sex yet? It's like, I'm only 13. What are you talking about?
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
But then the little girl, you better not. You don't have a boyfriend. That's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do certain things. So it's like, okay, if you're teaching me to be this sacred temple and you're teaching him to let it all out, how do we meet in the middle?
Okay.
How do we meet? Now, both should be taught to honor themselves and to, both are worthy, both have value, both should be careful who they give their bodies to, but don't give him a pass while she's suffering, because she doesn't know anything about her body. She knows she's feeling these urges, she feels her body changing, she doesn't understand. My kids used to say, why my thing is beeping.
Oh, goodness.
They don't understand.
So these are the questions the teens brought to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Right.
I get this reaction when this is happening.
Okay.
But little boys, they know, I can just, go in the bathroom, go in my room, close the door,
so
lock
somebody
it.
at some point in their lives encourage it, whether it be culture, society, peers, and things of that nature, and just listening to what you're saying. And I don't want anybody to get lost in the topic, but it sounds like at the core of it is being educated about your body and not feeling ashamed that you're going through something that's very natural as far as development, as far as desires, as far as urges and things of that nature. And that's something that it sounds like as a sexual educator, you're combating that shame, and you're just not encouraging, young boys and young girls just going out there and do things, but to educate yourself and tap into a space where you are aware that you're not dirty, you're not bad, you're not wrong for going through something that's so natural.
Correct. Okay. And even something as simple as the period.
Yes.
I know in the Black household, we don't wear tampons, so that's going to take your virginity, you know.
Wow.
And it's like, but I play sports. I don't want this big pad
I hear you.
in my way. I'm a dancer. I have to have on a leotard, so, those little things. And I understand the protection of it.
Right.
But I do think we need more education of it, because that little girl grows into a grown woman.
Right.
Who doesn't know anything or much about her body.
Right.
Perfect example. Now we have the menstrual cups now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And you have women 30 plus who are trying these cups, but don't feel comfortable inserting the cup inside of their vagina.
Absolutely.
Don't know exactly where is my cervix. What does that mean?
Because they have all the instructions on there, but if you're not sure, where your anatomy is, or if you're not comfortable because you weren't encouraged to do that. Yeah, and a lot of those things, a lot of those tools and devices have been developed because what was discovered is that some of the products that were used as far as tampons and even like the pads were toxic and women were getting sick, and it's like, I need something. So it's wonderful that a lot of these products were created, but I hear you, it's like we have it here for you, but you don't know what to do with it.
Right.
And it all stems from this discomfort, this shame with just doing things to take care of your body that are natural, but it was communicated something different growing up. But that's a really great point, because there are all kind of things out there now as alternatives, and they're healthy alternatives, right? Okay.
But we're not comfortable.
Right.
Good girls don't do that. You don't touch yourself.
Absolutely.
And then a lot of that pressure of don't have sex until you married. You know how many women got married to have sex, aren't happy, aren't fulfilled.
Yeah.
The messaging plays a role in who we become, what we do, until we unlearn things and realize, okay, I understand what you were trying to teach me, but it just didn't translate well.
Absolutely. It's almost like a picture where pieces were missing. Parts were missing, because it's not necessarily, and granted, if you're out there and you're like, this is something that's important to me to engage in abstinence, that is a personal choice, and no one is condemning that, but understanding your body and how it works and being comfortable, exploring different things and just having a knowledge and an awareness and not being afraid. So I definitely think that's what you're speaking to. Prior to sex even coming in the picture, it's a comfort thing.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you don't have anyone to talk to about it, or I know, after we start our cycles, young girls go to the doctor, or start our cycles, go to the doctor, or even become sexually active. The medical treatment changes a little bit, but even then, I don't know about you, I didn't have an education. All right, young lady, this is what's happening. This is your body. You need to know these different things. Did you have that education even at the doctor's office? Do you remember that? Or did
no.
You? Okay.
No.
You're like,
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I remember my first time having to tell my mom that I was active. I was terrified.
Oh, wow.
I was terrified. And, Mom, I never told you this story, but I remember me trying to tell her that I was sexually active or began my journey. I was actually trying to tell her I think I'm pregnant. I couldn't even get those words out.
Wow.
Like, I was like, oh my God. And I remember my mom was just like, what? And she got up and left the house. And then hours later came back and was like, okay, I understand, but I don't think you should be doing that. You're too young. Okay. Promise me you will not do it again. And I was like, okay, I promise.
Right. Okay.
And I was just praying, like, Lord, please do not let me be pregnant. Please, please, please.
Oh, okay. So,
because I couldn't tell her.
Wow. So even that, if I heard you correctly, you thought because you had made the decision to be sexually active, you just by engaging in the act, you were automatically pregnant.
No.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. That wasn't it? Oh, okay.
That wasn't it. That's like a whole different story.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was just making.
That wasn't it. No, I knew.
You weren't pregnant.
I knew. Well, teenage drama. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
Teenage drama.
Yeah.
Me and my boyfriend at the time, we had a conversation, and he said something to me, and I was like, oh my God. That's when it became real. Like, oh, I could be pregnant. I didn't know this information.
Right.
And I was like, I have to tell my mom.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell my mom, and I was just like, Lord, please.
Yeah, it was very scary, it sounds like, for you. Absolutely. And the reason why I wanted to clarify that, because it does, unfortunately, if you're so disconnected from how it all works and you don't have a safe place to really talk about it or a safe place to ask those questions, sometimes people think, oh, he looked at me very intensely, I might be pregnant. And that sounds really silly, but seriously, a lot of, if you don't say anything, you don't ask, you don't know.
You don't know.
And, I threw that out there just to make sure I was hearing you correctly. So I'm so glad to hear that wasn't the case.
No, for me, that wasn't the case.
But I'm glad to hear you were able to come to your mom and have the conversation. So I'm just curious, was that the first time you were able to have a conversation like that with mom? Or did you and mom? Okay.
That was that. But, it was still taboo. It was like, I can imagine the awkwardness.
Right.
Like, no one wants to picture their child in that light. So I can understand the awkwardness. So it wasn't a long, drawn-out conversation. It was just, don't do this again. Like, no. I was like, okay.
Right. And so would you say that was the beginning of you just getting an understanding of that aspect of you? Or even then, you were still in the space where it was taboo?
It was still taboo.
Okay.
But I feel like I understood why.
Okay.
I understood the awkwardness.
Okay.
Because it was awkward for me too.
Right.
And I can just imagine, it's like, oh my God, she's growing up.
Okay.
Oh my God, we're here now. Oh my God, this is really happening. So I understood it.
Right.
So after that, we just didn't talk about it.
Okay. Gotcha.
I didn't stop, but
I appreciate your transparency, right? And this is a judgment-free zone. And I know there are a lot of people who your story and your journey will resonate with, because I know folks who will be watching probably are coming from a faith-based background where it is encouraged to be abstinent, but in reality, not everyone chooses that. Whether they talk about it or not, it's not a choice that everyone makes, or if they make it, it's not one that they can commit to or do commit to. And this is a judgment-free zone, and your choice is your choice, and not to be condemned, but to learn from it and to grow from it. And it sounds like in your journey, in that chapter of your life where you've crossed over, it sparked something for you, like going into college. Had the desire to want to be a sex educator sparked yet, or you were just still trying to find your way? You just liked educating? Like, where were you at?
I was still finding my way, but I remember feeling so strongly about life is unfair.
Okay.
Why do they get to do these things and it's
about
okay?
The gender, the difference in the gender.
Why are males or men able to do these things and it's okay? But if a woman does it, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I thought that was so unfair.
Okay. Yeah.
Why? Or even going back to the orgasm things. Okay, so why are men getting all the pleasure and women really aren't?
Right. So it's one-sided all the way through is when you became aware of that happening.
Not fair.
Right. Okay. So definitely, I know folks walking, gentlemen, I'm sorry. We feel like we're picking on you today. Nope. This is a conversation about awareness and a conversation about perspective. And this is Jasmine's perspective. And we're both sharing different things here. So I don't want you to feel condemned or shamed, but just something that, society-wise, there is, the scales are always on a balance and even, place when it comes to that. So you, on a personal level, have become aware of that, and we're just, upset. It sounds like you were just like annoyed by it. And so with that, is that what led to the next step, or where were you at from there once you had this awareness?
Still in college, don't know what I want to do with my life.
Okay.
Having a great time, but still, because when I was a teenager, that was my first boyfriend. That was love of my life. I knew we were going to get married. You couldn't tell me anything different. So coming from that and trying to navigate, what is life like being, because I'm a high school sweetheart.
Right.
What is life like not having a high school sweetheart, being single, having all this freedom? It's just so much. You have all this freedom. You're away from home. Your parent isn't there. You have the free will to do what you want to do, but those come with consequences.
Okay.
And you have to get yourself up for school. So it was just so much trying to process as a young adult. You're still trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life after college?
Right.
So I'm still trying to be a nurse, even though I don't like it.
Right.
I practiced as a CNA when I was in college. I was like, this isn't for me. Then switching over to pre-occupational therapy. So it was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Right.
And it probably didn't really click for me until occupational therapy and that particular professor mentioned that, because I always knew I wanted to do something in the sex industry, just didn't know what.
Okay.
And then becoming a teacher, it was like, this is it.
Okay. And that you stumbled into the teaching part as well?
Yeah, I did. Because
Okay.
in my mind, I went to write a curriculum. I want to write this great sex education curriculum. So for the process, you be a substitute teacher, then you become a teacher, then you learn the curriculum, you write. That is so not the process, but in my mind, that was the process.
Yeah.
Right, it takes too long. And so I remember when I was a teacher, we always had a teacher shortage. A teacher asked me, well, do you have a bachelor's degree? And I was like, yeah. Like, why are you subbing? And then that teacher walked me through the steps of becoming a teacher.
Okay.
So
very cool. So it sounds like there's a lot of people who you cross paths with in your journey that matched where you were as far as your curiosity and helped you take it to the next level. And for those of you watching, you're like, man, they're talking about all these things, sex education, liberating, being comfortable and these things. Jasmine, it sounds like to me your purpose as time went on slowly started to be revealed to you and become more clear.
Yeah.
And that's a part of your spirituality, understanding why you are here on this earth and what is it that you're called to do. And then it's about figuring out a way to kind of bridge the gap and actually do that. So it definitely sounds like in the beginning of your journey, it was all leading you to your purpose.
It was. I always tell people my fight was never equality. Okay, I can stay home.
Okay,
that was never my fight. But I do feel like my fight is to help women be comfortable with their sexuality, whatever they are, whatever that looks like for them, and express it how they feel. You don't have to feel shame. Growing up, you can't wear red lipstick. As a little girl,
because it's equate to the lady of the night, right? Or drawing attention. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Red was a forbidding color for little
Scarlet
girls.
A, yes.
Like everything. Because then that's like, oh my God, don't get me started on that. Like that's like another topic of little girls are blamed for the things that are done to them. If they are molested or raped, they're blamed for that. Now, not all the time it's your fault, because sometimes people are blamed directly, but having growing up and being told you're so fast, you're so hot, you're this, you're that, and you're like, oh well, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I did bring this out. I wanted to wear red lipstick, and at that time I did sneak it on. Was this the So I know people don't really understand the intent. I understand the intent, but the messaging, it can throw a child off and. It's just a lot that comes with that. So again, this little girl grows up into a woman, and regardless if she experienced sexual assault or not, but you still have those messages. So you're like, oh, I don't want to wear this. I don't want to draw this attention on me. And it's like, that's not fair. If you want to wear a crop top, girl, wear your crop top.
Right. Yeah. And the themes of shame. That's what I'm hearing, and definitely, in the space where I connect with people and meet them, a lot of folks who have navigated trauma, that is something that they are learning to heal from. Accepting that it was not their fault, that someone violated them and didn't accept their no as a no, that someone violated their trust. And so I think there's so much truth to what you're saying. And as someone who works with, both children and adults, figuring out a way to separate those messages. And I love, you saying, I get it. I get why it's communicated, to be aware of how you're presenting yourself and conducting yourself, because whoever's communicating to you, usually our parental figures, are warning us about the world without warning us about the world, that these scary things can happen and there are people there that will violate you. But at no point in time is it your fault when someone crosses a boundary. And I love that, you brought that theme up and want to be an advocate for that by empowering and educating and breaking this stigma that knowing about your body and carrying yourself in a way that you feel comfortable is nothing to be ashamed about. It's actually something to be celebrated.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So, okay, you see how I just kind of tie that up,
You did.
pull it out for the people, because folks get lost in some of the terminology, and we're talking about abuse, and that's a hot topic. And I don't know, we didn't talk about that. And growing up in my community, you just heard about something that happened to so and so, or this thing happened to so and so, but you're not really sure what. Because it's scary.
It's scary.
And it's opens your eyes to a whole nother part of the world that people don't like to talk about, and it's uncomfortable. right?
Yeah.
But merging the two, they're not mutually exclusive.
Right.
Right? There's these separate things, and one, self, loving self, honoring self, protecting self, is one that is something that should be focused on and not the fear aspect, right? Sorry. Pull the mental health counselor piece, you know what I'm saying? Because it definitely is something that, you know, needs to be talked about more. And I'm so glad to hear that there are advocates out here. Like, yeah, I don't even know if you knew how much of an advocate that you are by creating this product and venturing into this space to educate. It's amazing and it's needed.
It's needed.
Absolutely.
I mean, our parents do the best they can.
Absolutely.
But that's awkward for a parent to say, okay, this is your this and this the.
Absolutely.
That can be awkward.
Absolutely.
That can be awkward.
And thank goodness the world has someone like Miss Jasmine who is excited and gifted and talented, so much so that you created these beautiful products that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about in part 2. Which means you'll have to tune in next time, which is next week, to hear part 2 and learn a little bit more about Jasmine and where her passion to advocate, her purpose to advocate has led her and how she's helping people today. But before we leave, Jasmine, where are you? Are you on social media? Do you have a website? How can people get connected with you?
I am on Instagram at the Vagina Liberator _ on Facebook at the Be Liberator.
Okay.
That's so dumb. And the website is www.thevaginaliberator.com.
Awesome. And if you want to learn all about the Vagina Liberator and Miss Jasmine, all the wonderful things she's doing for women and this world, y'all, please tune in and join us. Thank you again for having us. Yes, for having us in your space. And again, anything Sandy Durham, www.sandydurham-lmhc.com. You can find me there. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.
Dreaming about having your own podcast? Want to share your thoughts and ideas with the world but don't know how to do it? Maybe you're excited and committed but don't have a good space to record. Would you like a professional environment to produce all of your podcasts? Well, we have the latest technology from 4K to HD and various set layouts from green screen rooms to live studios. The Inspire Network is an actual television station where our studios are available for rent, and we offer editing suites with the latest technology. We have a makeup studio and beautiful spaces to prepare for your show. Don't forget to ask about our convenient photography studio to capture professional headshots or redefine your new look. Our state-of-the-art facility is intentionally laid out to accommodate your multimedia needs.
Jacksonville, it's the Nothing But the Hits farewell tour of the Williams Brothers. November 5th at the Paxson Revival Center. With special guests, the Swanee Quintet, the Williams Singers, Keith Wonderboy Johnson, and more. Tickets $40 in advance, $50 at the door. VIP available. They're available at Eventbrite, DJ Records, or Paxson Discount Christian Bookstore. For info, call 904